Finally checking out the Bulls E-Stream FS Enduro. Full suspension and Enduro, meaning longer travel, a bit more angle on that rake. 160 millimeters front and rear, both rock shocks. This one's really adjustable. Air, of course, lighter weight, but gonna get a dial in the rebound and just get that a little bit more accurate for you if you are someone who's actually traveling downhill, getting the weight appropriate. Weight on this bike at the frame, the battery, everything all inclusive is only 49.5 pounds. I was really impressed with that, and it just looks more like a bicycle. You know, if you look at the down tube here, it's obviously a bit fatter when you get close, but there's no attached battery hanging out here. It's really clean. You've got that nice clean triangle, and the motor down here, same thing. It's got this kind of aluminum casing, pretty minimal, and I just like that. You know, if you're actually out on a trail and you don't want people, you know, noticing and just getting out there, enjoying yourself, but getting that extra assist, that extra power. This offers 90 Newton meters of torque. Just incredible. I scaled this hill, and it's pretty steep. I mean, I just came right up it from this parking lot down here. I've been hanging out at the Denver e-bike expo, having a good time. Both folks were there. This has been a pretty popular bike. And in general, the Brose motor system has really been impressive. It's geared, it's a center drive, kind of like Bosch or Impulse or Yamaha, but they use a belt system, so it does tend to be a little bit quieter, and that's nice. I don't think it had shift sensing, so I was trying to play around with that, shifting up and down, you know, and it really wasn't mashing too much. This comes back to, if you're gonna spend the money, you have a bike like this, you probably sort of know how to ride appropriately, shift well. 10 sprockets in the rear, Shimano, it's good stuff. Dior XT, triggers on the right. They function as you'd expect. Ergon locking grips up here. We've got remote seat post dropper, and that's one of the things I really like, especially for a kind of a downhill bike, something that's like mountain or bombing. You can drop that down on the way down, so you can use your legs as a little bit more suspension, absorbing those big hits. But of course, if you're climbing or just cruising around town, you have it higher and you get a little bit more efficiency and leg extension. So I like that. FSA cranks, well goes cages, nothing super special, but you know, you replace those with clip-ins. Love that they've got this like E13 sort of a chain guide going on here. I was looking at one of the other Bulls bikes, and it kind of had like the narrow wide. This one might have a little bit of that going, but they kind of had like a, I guess it was like a little wheel, kind of a sprocket that lifted the chain. In this case, it's already higher because we've got a larger 38 tooth chain ring up here. But yeah, 1x10, and that's 11x36 teeth back there. So definitely geared for climbing, some off-road use. 203 millimeter hydraulic disc in the front, 180 in the rear. Shimano Saint. You can see those kind of blades there for dissipating heat, and it looks like this is maybe a dual piston as well. So really nice setup. 142 by 12 millimeter through axle in the rear, 15 millimeter in the front, so you get a lot of strength and rigidity, which you definitely need if you're going down cruising. This is a 27.5, by the way, so the tires 27.5 versus 26, which might offer a little bit more travel, and that's fairly nimble, but this one's going to give you a little bit better rolling momentum and clearance, but it's not so big that it's like a 29er. So it's interesting for me to see like a downhill bike with 27.5. The other downhill electric bike that I've seen is from High Bike, and I think it had 26-inch wheels. Definitely even more raked out, and that thing was like only for downhill, whereas this, to me, it's a little bit more, you know, you could use it for mountain riding, you could even use it for a bit of trail riding, but you do see that rake. It's just spec'd a little bit higher, and the price tag on this thing is not as bad as I would expect. I mean, considering some of these bikes have been $6,000-$7,000, this one's $53.99, so you know, $5,400, and to get the integrated drive system that looks so clean like that, you can see that the wires are kind of tacked onto the top, so they're not quite as clean as some of the other systems. Got a nice wire wrapper up here. The other thing about it is that the battery really isn't removable. You know, you're not supposed to take it off, so you don't need to worry about people stealing it, but that means you have to bring the bike in with you to charge it. When you're storing it on a rack or something, it's going to weigh a little bit more. Of course, you can take the wheels off, which helps, but that's a trade-off from some of these other bikes that have the external battery, or like the Specialized Turbo Levo, which also uses the Brose motor system, and that one, I think it's, you know, it is removable. There's like a through axle kind of thing on the frame. You take it out so it doesn't lock to the frame. So any of them, if someone had tools, they could potentially try to get at your battery. But, you know, again, this is sort of an elite mountain bike experience. Here's the firm or soft adjuster, sort of a remote shock chamber for rebound on that. Love that. Just Really nice stuff all across. It's a ton of fun to ride this thing. But coming back to the electronics, if you're charging this thing, there's the energy bus magnetic charging port right there on the side of the down tube. So that's where you charge it. It's a nice system. I don't know if it has a cover. This one, it's not on there. It's a demo bike. So it's, you know, it's been tipped a little bit and taken some abuse. Really, really short stem. It's just a slight rise. Tapered head tube for added strength again. Looking pretty nice. Quick release on the seat post. This is 30.9, but you know, of course, you've got the dropper right here. So it's not something that, like, I think I'd really replace. RockShox reverb going on, Pro logo, zero space saddle, definitely more aggressive, competitive saddle. Pretty long bars here too, a little bit of a rise, gravity, just higher end stuff, more name brand than on some of the other models that I've checked out. Yeah, so I guess, you know, you charge this thing up 36 volts, I think it's like 14.4 amp hours, so it's definitely a bigger capacity. You should be able to get pretty solid range. You know, they say like 90 plus miles, and I think it really depends on the terrain you're riding on. There's definitely a little bit more friction and drag happening with these larger tires, 27.5 by 2.35, but you know, not terrible. It's kind of what you'd expect, and if you lock things out, you could still use this to get around town if you just had one bike, which is sort of how I do it. Definitely a fan of the suspension, the comfort aspects. There's a closer shot of those brakes, and then the dropper seat post. We don't have remote lockout on this one, but you know, again, we have all those different settings going on. So from here, I think I might just turn it on. This is the display panel over on the left, and they call it transflective, and you might see why. So if I press the power button, boom, like it's just super bright. You don't get quite as many readouts, I noticed. Like, I've just got battery, there's bars there, five bars, so you get 20% increments, speed in miles per hour in the middle, and then you can kind of arrow up to the different assist levels. So there's no assist, that's the starter, and it's an open box. Level 1, which is like a full box, level 2, and level 3. So there's like 3 levels of assist, gets you up to 20 miles per hour. This is a class 1 pedal assist bike. There are some buttons here on the left, maybe, I don't know. Those might be built into like the display. They call it kind of like touchscreen, but it clicks. So you get the tactile feedback. It's easy to reach. I like it. I'm a fan of this, but you know, no odometer, no trip meter here. And then there was something about how there's supposed to be like a USB charging port. I think that's it right there. So you get the little maintainer where it just sort of keeps your phone battery up if you're using that as a GPS, or maybe you've got like some music player or something like that. Nice to see that. Like I'm definitely getting convinced that this is a cool way to go. It's neat to see this thing in person and just try it. It's so quiet. Like that's the real benefit of the system. It's just stealthy and it's quiet. I think anyone can appreciate that. So I'm gonna hop on this thing, maybe climb some hills and stuff with the frame camera on, and get you close up away from these cars so you can hear the motor. I'm just gonna drop this hill real quick. A little scratchy there. You get those higher RPMs, I think you start to hear the motor more. Really responsive. I'm not hearing that scratchy noise anymore. Get up to that 20 mile per hour top speed and it just kind of eases out. Really smooth. I described it's smooth and quiet. I'm gonna try to shift down and get that scratchy noise I was hearing again, because that's the first time I've heard it. Otherwise, this has really been quiet. Okay, so there it is. You heard that scratchy noise a little bit. I'm definitely down in one of the lower gears. That might be a big reason why. If I get my cadence up a little bit. Cool. Well, I'd still consider it quiet, but yep, it's a geared motor. They've got the belts inside, which is supposed to smooth things out. I would agree with that. I'm gonna shift through real quick and see if there's any mashing. That was a huge jump. I was just rapid fire on those shifters, hammering down. You could hear them clunking a little bit, but not much worse than if I was really pushing hard, just as a pedaler. Okay, I'm going to start out in the lowest assist, just on flat pavement here. I'm going to go up to the higher levels of assist, and then I'm going to do some climbing at low speed so you can see that 90 Newton meter torque stuff we were talking about. That's the lowest. There's next higher. Definitely feel that step up. There's full. I'm already at 20 miles per hour. Going to climb that steep hill. Yeah, definitely noticing the assist. I'm at the top of the hill now. No problem. And quiet. Some of that longer travel, 160 millimeter air suspension action. Try to get you up close to the chain ring so you can see how quickly it starts and stops and how much noise it's making. So it's listening for cadence and torque, and I could definitely notice that if I'm just pedaling lightly. You get some assist. As soon as you put in more force, you feel it, and it feels good. It's more responsive than I was expecting. This is light pedaling. Well, considering we're in a big parking lot here, that was fun. We got a little bit of off-roading and stuff. That's the Brose E-Stream FS Enduro. It's kind of their highest end, best system, nicest specs, Enduro ready. For the full write-up on this and some of the other Brose bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Brose, you know, they've been around for a while. They distribute globally in several countries, so maybe you've already seen and tried this in Europe or something like this. Relatively new to the US, 2015, 2016. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Ride safe.